Hello and welcome to the Great Men Are Built podcast. My name is Matthew and I am your host of today's podcast. And today we're going to be talking about you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. And this is a powerful, powerful topic. I don't know about you, but for me, this has been a mantra for my life. And here's the reason why. When I was young, I was short, I was fat, I was slow, and I wasn't very smart, and I wasn't attractive. So I had all the things. All right. I had basically all the things that are working against you. And I had something that a lot of people actually didn't have, though. I had heart. And that was something that coaches growing up always shared with me. And it's something that I actually want to transfer onto you today with this mantra of you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. And that's why I'm actually starting this podcast series, as this is a form of content that I actually choose to listen to. So my mentors, I choose to listen to them, long form content. And I find their thought streams very thought provoking. So maybe you're listening to this while you're going for a walk. Maybe you got me in your pocket. Maybe you're listening to me while you're doing dishes. Maybe you're in the gym while you're listening to this. Happy to have you here. So you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. So when I was younger, I was slow, fat, overweight, unintelligent, and in the slow class. And I can remember going to track and field events, and the position I got was the person that took the readings for people of the athletes. And I can remember it was really challenging actually at times growing up and not really being like an athlete, even though I surrounded myself around sometimes the popular kids, sometimes the athletes. Even in my life, I've always tried to seek out experts and surround myself around experts. But here's the thing. I realized that I actually got good at sucking. And here's what I mean by that. Because growing up, I wasn't very good at things. I was just used to not being good. So I always would surround myself around people that were way better than me in a lot of different domains. And one of the things that I would do is I would not give up. Because here's the one thing that you can do in control of anything, no matter what skill you are, no matter what venture you're starting in, you can always determine through your work ethic. Right? We can always increase. Now, we want to be mindful of not going into the overworking labor side of ourselves where we're not working smarter and we want to work efficiently. But what you can do is you can increase your work ethic, you can increase your repetitions, you can increase your work, and it's going to yield you results. Now, before we get into the episode, I want to ask you right now, are you a man from 28 to 40? And you've got your career figured out, you've got your finances in order, your body's in shape, and you're really just looking for this last piece in your life. You're looking on how to find a long-term partner, whether you're looking for like a relationship or you're actually looking to get married. And when a woman walks by and you struggle to talk to her, you don't know the things to say, your mind goes blank, you get anxiety, or you get put into the friend zone, or you've been in a couple relationships and it doesn't seem like anything's lasted. Well, we've got a community called Authentic Attraction Club, and click the link below if you want to join our community of men that are getting amazing results and living their best life and really transforming and learning all the nuances of man to woman communication. It's very powerful. Feel free to check us out. Click the link below and see if it's a fit. And I'd love to have you in our community. Now, when you're getting started and you're first getting started on anything, you got to know that. And here's the thing, social media completely creates a misconception of how things get started. Now that I know what I know about social media, I see how hard people are hustling and how effortless it looks like on the front end. But on the back end, I just know because of what it takes to create content, have a social media and these types of things. I'm like, man, they're making that look like really effortless. They're making it look like they have everything together. And I can assure you from someone that has been doing this for some time, no, there's a lot of work to get a certain skill set in order to do that. So let's start with an example in my journey. So let's talk about speaking to camera. This is one that I have absolutely struggled with. I have really struggled with being able to speak to camera. So when I first got started with YouTube, I made a decision that I want to do the long game. Now, what happens to most people when you want to be great to get started, you got to start to be great in order to get started kind of thing. And you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. So a lot of people don't make past the 20, I think the percentage is 95% of people don't make past 20 episodes on their podcast. It's because there's a lot of front end work that you got to do. And so I like these metrics. They're kind of helpful. They're benchmarks. So let's look at a sales job, for example, or talking to camera. Say you want to create a YouTube video. Say you're wanting to speak to camera. Generally speaking, you want to get done your first 3. That's your first milestone you want to get done. You want to complete your first 3. So no matter what you're doing, whatever the exercises that you're doing, no matter if you're trying to get to the gym, whether you're wanting to start your fitness journey, whether you're wanting to learn to talk to women, whether you're wanting to upgrade your life, you got to get past that first 3 milestones. It's really important that you get your first 3. So when you focus, a lot of people try to go for these big wins and these big things. And what starts to happen, it has a diminishing return. It has a reverse effect actually on your success, because here's what happens. You start to shoot too high and then you don't gain momentum and you feel guilty for not gaining momentum. And then you don't create any action in what it creates a stop. And what we want to be mindful of is to not create a block, because this is what's happening in our thought streams. We, on our journey, have created agreements, decrees, commands, postulates, promises, programming, blocks inside our thought streams, and it's stopping us. And now that's created a behavior, and now that's created identity, and that's who you are. So we have to break through these molds. We have to be able to get past those types of blocks. Now, when you first get started, it's really important that you go after those first 3, because here's the thing. If you've not done something for a very long time, it's going to need to get some momentum. So the first thing you're looking to do to create when you want to get started is do your first 3. This is very, 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 very important. Your first 3 are very important because you want to get the momentum going. So let's look at this in terms of creating videos. So the goal that you're going to want to create when, let's say, for example, creating videos, is you want to look at creating your first 3. Then from there, now that you've done your first 3, now your next momentum, now that you got a bit momentum going, our next milestone is 20. So you want to do your first 3, whatever that action is, no matter what you're starting, you want to do your first 3. So let's relate this back to you. What is something you can do that you're wanting to get started, since we are at the beginning of 2025? And what are those things that you're wanting to start? Let's just pick one right now. What's that one thing you're wanting to start? Now, what I want to ask you is, how can you reverse engineer and ask yourself, how can I get my first 3? So maybe that's your first 3 approaches, right? Maybe you're looking to talk to women and you're wanting to find a date, right? Your goal maybe initially is just to talk to 3 women. That's your goal. Then your next goal is maybe to talk to 20 women. Okay. And I know that that might seem a little overwhelming right now, which is why don't think of the 20, just start at the 3. So what is that one thing that you're wanting to start this year in 2025? Is it career? Is it fitness? Is it body? Is it relationships? Is it family? Who and what do you want to focus on? Find that one thing right now. And I want you to ask yourself, what is that thing that I can do those first 3? So let's take the gym, for example. You want to get into the gym this year. Ask yourself, how can I get into the gym 3 times? Because that's your goal. Then once you get there, then think about the next step after. But your first main goal is so that you can feel accomplished. Now, here's the thing. Maybe you really need help getting in that gym. Maybe you just need to go to the gym and hang out in the massage chair for the first 3 times. That's your job this year, is to go hang out in the massage chair. Or maybe you're wanting to post videos on YouTube or content on social media. Get after that first 3. Great. Now what happens is you get some momentum going and you get some self-confidence, right? And by the way, just to let you know, the first 3 are, you're going to face so much inside yourself, so many internal blocks, so many things that are going to come up inside of you to stop you from getting your first 3. So get after your first 3. Now that you've done that, the next milestone is 20. You really want to focus in. So really you only need 17, but put that in your mind. Now, how can I get to 20? And if you can get past 20, generally speaking, that new thing that you're trying is going to be an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on what that thing is and how long it takes. But here's the thing. It takes 20 hours to start creating a new habit. So if you can log in 20 episodes or 20 videos or go to the gym 20 times, and don't put a time frame on it, by the way, this is really key. Try to not put too much pressure on needing it to be done in a certain time, but don't get lazy because momentum is money, right? Momentum is money. Momentum is money. So you want to nurture momentum. Think about this right now. Think of the energy it takes to get a plane off the ground, right? Where's the hardest part of a plane ride, right? Generating all that energy, get that plane off the ground, right? You ever see a pilot? He pulls the thing to full throttle when he gets the plane off the ground. It's just all the turbines going. I just flew from a business trip on Chicago, so I was just on a plane not that long ago. It takes all this energy, and then it finally gets the plane off the ground. He's still full throttle, getting it up to altitude, and then finally at altitude, he can pull off and go into autopilot. Well, momentum's the same way. Whenever you're trying to do something for the first time, it's going to take momentum, and you got to get that momentum started. So that's why after your first 3, you want to keep that momentum going and now get after your first 20. Great. Now your next milestone is you're going to want to get after that 100. And by the way, each increment after that, each increment has just as much challenges. So that's kind of the key that you want to put in your head. So generally speaking, for most people to get started, they got to get after that first 3. But then that journey from 3 to 20 takes just as much energy to get from 3 to 20. But then it takes just as much energy to get from 20 to 100. But now that you've done something 100 times, you have a pretty good data. You have a pretty good spec of data to kind of learn from. And now you can ask yourself, and that's when you should ask yourself, should I quit? After you've done something 100 times, now ask yourself, how do I feel now? Because a lot of us, what the challenge is when we getting started is we don't have a big enough sample size. So then what starts to happen is we start to create what's called cognitive biases. Now, if you're hearing what the term cognitive bias for the first time, I'd highly encourage you to go look this up because this stuff is crazy. So Charlie Munger, if you don't know who Charlie Munger is, he is the business partner. He's passed away, rest in peace. He's the business partner with Warren Buffett, arguably some of the smartest guys on the planet. And he has these 25 cognitive biases that we want to look out for. So these biases get created in our mind due to certain situations and survival mechanisms in order for us to perceive reality. And so they actually can be helpful because it helps us filter through data. But the challenge with this is this. We create these biases with not much sample size, and then it stops us from actually creating action. And so here's what's worse when we're getting started is we judge ourselves and we start to overthink, and so there's a bias called the comparison bias. So when you're starting, you look out, especially if you're trying to do something on social media, you're going to look out and you're going to start comparing yourself, and you're going to create all these biases. You're going to be like, well, I'm not good enough. My thing doesn't look good enough. My set doesn't look good enough. I don't look good enough. I don't sound good enough. It's not good enough to get started. And then you get into your head. Now, I will tell you this episode, all of that happened to me. I'm getting in my head trying to figure out all these types of things, because the challenge is for me with these podcasts or talking to camera is I have lenses. I can see what I'm doing. When you're first getting started in some of these things, you don't know, you don't have references or lenses, but I've been creating content for quite some time now. I've been creating a ton of content for other people. So I have all these lenses. And so my standard has raised, which makes it a little bit more challenging just to put in effort for the beginning sake. But here's what my hack is when I first get started. When I'm talking about very, because that's really what we want to start. And that's what the topic of today is. You don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. Is I got good at sucking. So I can think on countless times of my journey, whether it was just, I was the last guy to get a phone out of my friend group. I remember I got a backpack, and it had, back when I was 24, I had a flip phone still at 24, and I put my phone, and my backpack still had, the backpacks had an upgrade. My backpack could still have a flip phone. And I remember I came back from traveling Central America, and so I had no technology. I was actually a technophobe. And I can remember being with my friend group, and I pulled out my phone, flip phone, and it was at the stage where I got made fun of for having a flip phone. So I can remember first getting a touch phone, being so afraid of technology, I can remember downloading my first app actually when I was 27 years old. And I was in Hamilton, Ontario. And I was with one of my friends, James. And I remember he helped me download the app for the first time. And I remember I had to put my thumb into the thing that measures basically reads your your pad. And I was like, wait, I don't want to give the technology my thumb. I don't want to give technology me. And because I had so much fear of technology. Oh my God, like the worst fear of technology. So I was horrible at it. And I can remember James editing a clip for me on the app, and I was blown away. I was like, this guy is talented. This guy's incredible. Oh my God. Like, and he, to be honest, he really is. He's a very talented human being. But this is why I'm telling the stories, because I remember he simply did, like, if I know about editing now, all he did was he did a split cut and he just put it together. I think about that now and how blown away I was and how I thought he was like the best editor in the world. And I had no reference. And then when I went to go edit myself, I was just absolutely horrible. And I had no editing skills, no video skills, no reference of how things should look or sound or any of that type of stuff. But I didn't give up because I knew the rule of 3-20-100, when you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. Is I knew I needed to film my first 3. So what did I do? I set a challenge for myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to film one video. I said this, I'm going to film 3 videos a week, and I'm just going to post to get to my first 100 videos. And that was powerful. That taught me a lot. I learned so much by that. And then in that time period, I came across a videographer in Las Vegas, and he helped me learn so much. I learned so much from him. And that was powerful because it completely changed my lens. I upgraded my equipment, and that was really cool. And that was fun. And then I got to Bali. And in Bali, I was around all these influencers and people. And by the way, I didn't even have Instagram yet. So now I can remember one of my other mentors. We were in Seminyak in his beautiful villas. Oh my God. And he showed me one of his LinkedIn profile things. And I was just getting Instagram for the first time and going on LinkedIn and all this. And I had to ask him, this guy's an Instagram social media expert. And here I am asking him, hey man, like, how do I message people? But remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. And this is a key mistake a lot of guys make on this journey, is they get way too hard on themselves when they get started. And the worst part is they don't start at all. And that to me is, I'd rather you start and suck for a very long time and keep going than not start at all. And I want to ask you right now, how many things have you given up on? How many ideas do you have? How many things in your life that you wanted to accomplish, and you went to go start and you sucked at it, and then you didn't start at all? And now that dream is just the background noise. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Les Brown, I think it was, said that the grave is the richest place on the planet because that's where all the people brought their dreams and they're unactualized. And that's not going to be you, because today and starting in 2025, you know that you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. So I want you right now to, again, reflect back. Think about, what's that thing that you're going to start now? What's that thing that you're going to start tapping into? Because it's important that you start this. It's really important that you start, because at the end of these results, you're going to impact a lot of people. And here's the thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that most people make, is they think that they have to have it all figured out. They think that, oh, no, I can't come on because of this. I can't do that. I'm just going to relate back to being on camera, because that's a big one for a lot of people that are wanting to get started. Like, you gotta be okay with the awkwardness. The awkwardness is part of the journey. I was just on a meeting. Okay, let's talk about another one today. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So this morning, my wife and I were on a call, and right now we're currently in the process of setting up our back end. So what does that look like in terms of legal terms? If you're into that type of stuff, you can do things either in terms of sole proprietorship, or you can do it in terms of setting up a corporation. And this information is completely new to us. We're recently moved back to Canada. We were living in Bali for 5 years, and moving back to Canada, setting things up on the back end. And I remember in the meeting, I basically just, awkward things are coming out of me in the meeting, and I say this is because what I mean by that is awkward things are coming out in the meeting. I mean, they're tics. Have you ever heard of this before? This is important, especially for those that are wanting to learn social interactions, right? They're ticks or tells. What happens, especially when we're first starting something, specifically if it's on camera, specifically if it's in terms of communication, and for you men that are looking to talk to women and learn that skill on how to talk to women and to women communication, get ready for some awkwardness. But you noticed how earlier, how I just said, I thought back to my awkwardness and I started laughing. Like, it makes me laugh. I actually laugh at it. Why? If you want to get good at talking to women, one of the main things you got to understand is self-amusement. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. You have to. It's an absolute must in life, specifically when you're talking to women. Why? Because get ready. There's going to be a ton of awkwardness, a ton of things coming out of you. And I love this journey, by the way. Here's the reason why. Women help you shape your character. So these constant interactions that you're having with women, and they're awkward and weird stuff comes out of you, or you feel creepy, or just awkward energy comes out of you. Women are an accelerator for you to be your greatness. Women are an accelerator for you to actualize your greatness. I'll say that one more time. Women are an accelerator for you to actualize your greatness. So this journey that you're going on with man to woman communication, or this journey that you're going to go on with coming on social media or speaking to camera, is a beautiful journey for you to carve your character. Think of yourself like a sculptor, right? Right now, these interactions that you have, that awkwardness that comes out of you, you're sculpting yourself. You're sculpting your character. You're sculpting who you are, because the 2.0 version of yourself hasn't been actualized yet right now. And the 1.0 is sitting where you are right now, and the 2.0 is right here right now too. And I want to ask you, who are you going to become? Are you going to stay at 1.0, or are you going to sculpt yourself to 2.0? Well, guess what the tools are? Talking to women, because they help you shape your character. Speaking to camera helps you shape your character. Watching yourself back, seeing all the awkwardness come out of you helps you shape your character. But your attitude determines your altitude. The way you look at things will determine the way you perceive things. The way you look at things determine the way you perceive things. Your attitude determines your altitude. What does that mean? Well, how high are you going to go in life? How far are you going to go in life? Well, if you have a negative attitude, it's going to be pretty hard to get quite a high altitude in life. That's why your attitude determines your altitude. And also, your attitude is very important towards your vocation, or towards your fitness, towards man to woman communication. So let's bring this back to man to woman communication. Your attitude is going to directly affect your results 100% with man to woman communication, because how you perceive yourself and how you perceive those interactions are going to be challenging at times. And those moments when you get challenged, when you suck, that really matters. When your attitude is that the moment when you suck, right? That moment where you realize, I mean, for some of us, when we first get started, there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'd encourage you to look it up. But essentially, it's this graph of how we think about ourselves in confidence when we first get started. So when we first get started, sometimes I call it what's called free energy. When you first get started, you get free energy. And what that means is, because you've not done it before, you get an increase in energy in the thing. So you might get some quick wins. But the challenge is, when you get on that quick win, you rise really quick. But then at the peak, you go to what's called Mount Stupid. And that means you don't have enough experience yet. So when you're first getting started, in the book 48 Laws of Power, they talk about, at the very beginning, some of the most powerful people on our planet are the ones that are most naive, because they don't know what they don't know. And that creates a lot of power, but it also creates a lot of ignorance. So what we're here wanting to do on the Great Men Are Built podcast is, we're wanting to build solid foundations. A lot of us probably haven't grown up with a father. We haven't had a father figure in our life. So we're lacking masculine energy. We're lacking principles. We're lacking standards. We're lacking ways of being. We're lacking behavior. We're not being guided. So we have to be raised by YouTube. And that's how I've been raised. I've been raised by, I call it YouTube University. And so now what I want to do is, because of the hours and hours and hours I've spent on YouTube, I want to give back, and I want to help you. I want to accelerate your timelines, and I want to build a foundation for you. And that's what this podcast is really about. And that's why this first episode is the most powerful one, because it has a really great message in it. And I know that that's subjective, but that's all right. It's got a really great message in it. So when you get to the peak of Mount Stupid, you have ignorance. And that's not what we want to create. We want to create wisdom. We want to apply knowledge. So we want to understand knowledge, and then we want to experience it. And once we experience it and assimilate it, ideally we embody it. And then once we embody it, that's when it turns to wisdom. So information alone is not going to create transformation. But what's happening right now as you're listening to this podcast is I'm shaping your mind. I'm kind of molding your mind in a way so that you can have these ideas and then ultimately you apply them. Now, like I said earlier, if you need help applying them, that's why you come in our community. Join our community, and these ideas will workshop them. That's why I call LXR method. Learn, experience, refine. Learn, experience, refine. Learn, experience, refine. You need to learn the information. So if that's not for you to join right now, that's no worries. Just watch these YouTube videos. You'll get a lot out of them. I've learned a lot, but I have learned something that was been very powerful. People who pay attention, and there's an energetic exchange. There's a challenge. There's a most powerful exchange that happens when you start to pay for information. So maybe that's not you right now. Maybe that's not a fit. No worries. Watch these videos. You'll stay in the learn and you experience your own. That's what I did for a very long time as well. I stayed on my own and refined. But what I found by investing in coaching and being in a community and these types of things is it accelerated my timelines, and I was able to experience better. So you have to learn, experience, refine. So now you need to learn the information, but now you need to experience the information. And you need a container to experience that in. And then once you're experiencing the experience of the knowledge, now you need to refine it. And it creates this kind of like wheel of constant refinement, right? Which is very, very powerful. So that's how you get out of ignorance. So when you're at the top, just coming back to the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? You peak up and you get to the top of Mount Stupid, where you have the most amount of confidence, but you have done something for the least amount of time. Want to be really mindful of the Dunning-Kruger effect, because what starts to happen as you go more and more, you get past that naiveness level, and now you come down to the valley of despair. You're way lower than you really started. And this right here at the valley of despair is where most people quit. That's where most people quit. So it's after like in between 3 and 20, right? Most people, that's why I say 95% of people don't make it past the 20th podcast, is because they go down to the valley of despair. So we want to be mindful of this. So how we can be mindful of this is being present to ignorance. And that's okay. But so now going back to the point where we talked about, basically you want to get good at sucking, and you want to have the ability to have self-amusement. Self-amusement is your tool. It's an absolute tool, specifically when it comes to man to woman communication, because there's going to be a lot of awkward moments. There's going to be moments that are just going to fall flat. You're going to say weird things at the weird times. And also you're going to reflect back as soon as the interaction happens. You're going to reflect back and you're going to be like, man, why did I say that? Or how did that come across? Or, why do I do this in that way? And that's okay, because you got to be able to laugh at yourself. But the way through that, because there's like a force field, okay? But between in your first 3 or your first 20, prepare for a force field. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to stop you from getting started. It's going to feel like your feet are in the ground, cemented in the ground. It's going to feel like, the way that I feel like it is, it feels like I have a weight jacket on. So I operate out of 2 ways. These are, and I want you to reflect as I'm about to share the ways that I operate when I get, want to start something and then I don't start something. I want you to reflect back as I'm sharing this, reflect back on how do you operate. So for me, I operate in 2 ways. The first way is I operate as if I was in Mars or something, like a big weighted suit, and that I can't move. I just don't want to move. I just make up excuses and I don't want to move. So I just stay put. Or the second way, and this one makes me laugh. All right. This one, I get like a wiggly feeling inside my body, and I want to do this. I want to avoid, and it feels like I can feel it in my esophagus, like in my spine. It's like this fluttery feeling, and it just makes me feel awkward. But when I feel it, I laugh, because I've trained myself. I've anchored myself on self-amusement, and I've anchored myself on attitude, because I've known time and time again that when I start something, I'm not going to be good. I am just not going to be good at the thing. And that's okay, because you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. And that's the thing. Here's the thing with this next. So now we know the 3 20 100 rule. What happens after 100? Well, now that you're at the 100 mark, you've got a good kind of data on whether or not you should move forward in this venture that you're doing. Now, I will say a caveat to this. With money and with fitness, we want to go definitely past the 100. Ideally, once you get into the 100 mark, you have the ability where this is who you are. But what's cool, like I was saying at the 20 mark, is that you're probably going to deposit about 20 hours. And that 20 hours is enough hours deposited to start creating some serious momentum. But the mindset stays the same from 3 to 20 to 100. But the key is this: from 3 to 20, that's where you're going to battle a lot with yourself. You're going to have an inner battle, and that's okay. The key to this, right? Look, information alone isn't power. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So if you don't apply this, this is just basically wasting your time. But if you apply this, this is where it becomes powerful. By applying this information is where you're really going to change your life. Ideas alone don't really do much. But if you act on these ideas, and what ideas should you act on? Well, this is where you need to get clear, right? This is why you need to get clear. Now, look, here's the thing. I want to give you another statement with this. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. I want you to think of this and consider this. Pay attention. Go as far as you can see, and once you get there, you'll see further. Go as far as you can see, and once you get there, you'll see further. So here's what I mean by that. When you first do your first 3 podcasts, or you do your first 3 videos, or you do your first 3 approaches talking to women, you go to the gym the first 3 times, your idea in your mind is like, I just got to get to my first 3. I just got to get to my first 3. Then from there, now that you've got your first 3, the next thing, the next point, the next mountain you're going to go overcome is like, I'm going to get to 20. And then you just focus on 20. So you're at 3 and you want to get to 20, you just focus on the 20. Just focus on getting to 20. Just focus on getting to the 20. Then from there, now that you've gotten to your 20, now you focus on your 100. Okay. Oh, but when you're at 3, you only go to 20. And when you're at 20, you only go to 100. And then once you get there, you make the decision then what the next thing you're going to see. Too many people make this mistake. Too many men specifically make this mistake. They think, oh, I have to have all the answers. I have to know exactly what is going to happen. I need to know specifically how it's going to work. Well, I got news for you, Charlie. That's not how it works. Why? Because we also have to factor in the law of attraction. We have to factor in manifestation. We are not as smart as the universe. With the focus of intention, when you think a thought and you create your own reality with a focus of intention and a focus of thought, and you go after that and you move towards that, all these things start to work in your favor. All of a sudden, the right person shows up. And by the way, if you want to know, the universe works through people. They work through people. So the blessings that you're looking to receive when you're putting your intention out, be mindful that when the person comes around, not to just ignore them, because you're getting a gift. A gift is coming to you and you're not paying attention. So the universe works through people. And this is a key concept to understand. I know that when I heard this, I started paying attention to this, and then it started allowing me to have awareness. And that's really one of the keys that I want to build in you. I want to build awarenesses. So I remember, and I still do to this day, when I'm listening to my mentors, they're helping me build awareness of this reality. And if you can understand how your mind works and understand how the laws of the universe work, you can start working with the laws. Now, I know that some of this might be going over some of your head, but if you're going to start tuning in, I really encourage you to start considering this information, because this information is really powerful. It dramatically helped me change my life. I've actually manifested my wife by understanding this information. So I understood a very powerful concept. I understood the power of, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. But then linking that with, go as far as you can see, and once you get there, you'll see further. And that's very, very important. Why? Because you leave room for magic. I like what Jay-Z said when he creates music. He said, I leave the door 30% open for God to come in. And I love that. And I think that that's very important because there's a lot of powerful, one of the ways that I like to think about this is that your greatest teammate is God or universe, your greatest teammate. So don't close that teammate off in the thing that you're creating. Now, the more you focus, now you might be asking me, okay, Matthew, how much do I focus on these things that I'm getting started? Well, there's a huge power in 68 seconds. Okay. That's the sweet spot when you're focusing on what it is you want. You want to focus for at least 68 seconds with focused energy. Why? Because this is a sweet spot with focus. Okay. So think about your intention. Think about your thought, right? The way you put your mind out there. Okay. When you're thinking a thought, when you stay focused, it puts a singleness of intention out. That engages the law of attraction, which then now starts to permeate what's called the ether, which I'd highly recommend you research. This is known by Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Tesla. They all know about the ether, which is the connecting of anything, or other people know it as the Akashic records. But you put a force of intention connecting your mind, your frequency, your thought frequency to the ether. What that does is that engages the law of attraction. From that standpoint, now you engage your manifestation. And by focusing for 68 seconds, this is through the information from Asking and Is Given from Jerry and Esther Hicks. This engages the law of attraction process. So you can see if you just do your first 3, you don't got much focus. But think about how much more focused, how much more clarity you get when you get to your first 20. Think about your first 3 to your first 20. I remember I was coaching a client on this on sales, and I said, okay, get your first 3 sales, then come back. Call me back when you first get your first 3 calls. Call me after your first 3 calls. Okay. Call me back. Call my first 3 calls. Okay, great. And here's the mindset that I gave him. Your first 3 calls, I don't even want you to think about if you did good or if you didn't do good. That's what I said to him. Your first 3 calls, I don't want you even to think about, is this good? Did you do good? How does this work? I don't want you to reflect on anything. Your goal, get your first 3 as quick as possible. Came back to me, got my first 3. Okay, great. Now what I want you to do is, I don't even want you to think, is this job for me? Is sales for me? I don't know if I should be doing sales. I don't even want you to think about any of that. What I want you to do is get your first 20 and then come back to me. And then he calls me after his first 10. I don't know if this is, remember what we're doing, first 20. Don't think about if this is for you. Don't think about the money. Don't think about any of that stuff. Just get your first 20. Calls me back at 15. I'm not sure if this is for me. I don't know if I can do this. Remember, get your first 20. Just get your first 20. Guess what? Call number 17 closed. Guess what? Call number 19 closed, and then started to pick up momentum. Oh, I think this is for me. Yeah, I think it is. The challenge is we don't give ourselves enough time. So that's another component to this. Okay. So the point of that is you have to give yourself enough time, right? Too many of you, when you're getting started, you're planting the seed and then you're digging it up saying, it hasn't manifested yet. See, manifestation doesn't work. Or see, this is why I shouldn't be doing that thing. You got to plant that seed. You got to water it. You got to nurture it. That's why you have to water it 100 times before you even see anything, because there's a germination process. So when you're going and putting out your intention, when you're first getting started, you have to know that the law of attraction is at play and it's at work and it's permeating in the ether to create and manifest your reality. And there's people and situations and events that are causing and working for your favor. And that's why your attitude is very important. Your attitude determines your altitude, because the attitude you work towards this is going to determine the results you get. And if you quit, you know the result. That's the thing. If you quit, you guarantee the results. But if you don't quit, you leave it up to something higher than yourself and a higher potentiality. And what I've done on my journey is I've surprised myself. I have surprised myself. I wouldn't, and I can think about this. There's multiple times on my journey where I succeeded people that were teaching me. And the reason why is they gave up. And so here I am, I think I'm officially 6 years on YouTube, and it's still been there. But there's a timing. There's time that you have to germinate, but now there's timing. Bill Gates says there's 3 keys to success: time, depth of vision, and luck. And when we look at luck, we can define luck as when preparation meets opportunity. So you can increase your probability of getting better at something or increase your probability of success if you increase your preparation. So let's look now as we're coming towards the end of the podcast. So just coming towards we've kind of come up and now we're going to come down on some of these concepts. Let's look at now preparation. So now that you are sculpting whatever it is you're wanting to create, if you're wanting to meet women, you want to get good and you want to get in a relationship, you eventually want to get married and you want to have children, or you want to have a great physique, or you want to get good at talking to grandma, you want to create a personal brand, whatever it is you're wanting to create, preparation is important. So now the thing is too many people are looking for big swings, No. Success is created through spaced repetition. Doing tiny, tiny incremental changes daily. That's why I love the saying of 1% better every day. I'm not trying to get 10% better every day. I'm not trying to get 20% better every day, just one and maybe even smaller than one. But there's a law that you have to understand with preparation as it relates to time and as it relates to spaced repetition. And this concept you got to understand. If you don't understand this concept that I'm about to tell you, I'd highly recommend that you research this deeper. Research it a lot deeper. By the way, when I always listen to my mentors and they help shape my awarenesses, one of the things that I always do is when they say concepts or things I don't understand, I just pause the video and I just type the thing down and then I go back to the video. Then from there, after the video, I just go research. And here's the power. There's a couple of reasons why you want to do this. Because you want to solidify the idea inside your subconscious mind. And by engaging the process of you doing your own research, what you do is you engage your own cognition. Now, if you're making cognitions based upon my thoughts, right? Like I'm basically thinking for you right now because you got me in your ear and you're listening to me. Well, you're not thinking for yourself. And General Patton said that's one of the biggest mistakes men make is they don't think for themselves. So nowadays, when we just got content galore, which is so much content, we're bloated in content, you got to think for yourself. You got to start making your own thoughts in your own mind. And this is very powerful. This is one of those foundations that your dad didn't teach you. Neither did mine. Is you got to start thinking for yourself. You have to think through things yourself. You have to ask yourself, why does that make sense? Or does that align with me? So many times we're programmed to just be fed what you should think about. But you got to think for yourself. Does that align with me? Why does that? And by the way, a lot of times too, your thoughts are going to get challenged. And the best place to be is teachable. You want to be in that sweet spot of being teachable. What does that look like? Question your mentor humbly. Too many people question their mentor out of just trying to prove them wrong or trying to, prove a point through their ego. This is not going to be beneficial for your development. One of the things we want to do is we want to remain teachable. So what is teachable? That means you want to be willingness to learn, your willingness to accept change. This is very important. This concept is very important to understand is because you want to remain coachable or teachable. Now, how you do this is very important. How you go about this is very important. One of the ways you can do this when you're learning information from someone is through humility. So you want to be humble in the way that you ask questions with whoever you're learning from. So always ask questions, think for yourself. So back to the time. So time is very, very important. So how much time you put into something and how you prepare. Well, how do you do this? You do micro changes. Too many of you are trying to get that big swing. You're trying to get that big result. And results don't come from big swings. Results come from a bunch of little swings that eventually add up to this concept, compound interest. Albert Einstein said compound interest is the most wonderful thing in the world, and he actually labeled it as the eighth wonder of the world. And this is really important to understand. This is really key to understand because compound interest is one of those kind of in the background things that we kind of all kind of know, but growth happens that way. You hit the hockey stick curve, right? You start off small, 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 and then all of a sudden it kicks up. Compounding helps over time. But the challenge is a lot of us give up at the beginning. A lot of us don't stay in the game long enough to continue to get those results. And this is so important in order to succeed in your life and to get the life that you want and to create your reality. And that's why you're here. You're wanting to create that reality for yourself. You're wanting to create that beautiful relationship with your partner, or you're wanting to have that physique, or you wanting to have that incredible bank account, you wanting to live that career, you wanting to travel the world, you're wanting to relax, enjoy life. It's the good life, baby. That's what you're after. That's what you want. Well, that's available for you. All of it's available for you. But I'll tell you one thing. If you don't start, it ain't coming. I'm sorry, Charlie. It is not coming your way. So we have to start. So that's why I wanted to motivate you today to get started, to start this journey, to go after your goal, to go after your dream, whatever that is. Doesn't matter what it is. That's what's so beautiful about being a human being, is it does not matter what you go after. We all have different desires, and not one desire is better than the other. We all have different desires, and that's the gift that we've been given. So this year, what is that thing that you're going to start? What's that thing you're going to go after to be great, to tap into that greatness that's within you? What is that thing? Because I'll tell you what, this is my thing. As I'm speaking this out to you, this is my thing. I struggled to do this. And I'll tell you what, I've been back and forth on this one for years, and I've struggled on this one. I've been back and forth. I've been spinning inside myself. I've been going, oh, I should do this. I shouldn't do this. I don't know. What is this? What is this? What if I'm not good enough? I don't want to come into the public eye talking about some of these subjects. Oh, I want to be the it guy, so I got to start right away. No, I'm not good enough yet. No, I can't get started. No, excuse after excuse after excuse. Well, that ain't going to work anymore. At some point, you got to get in the game. And by getting in the game, changes the game. I'll say that again. By getting into the game, it changes the game. The game will change for you once you get into the game. But who cares if you're in the background working on your craft, working on your skills, and over time, through spaced repetition, you start to make little tweaks. You get a little bit better. Maybe your sound quality gets better. Maybe your lighting gets better. Maybe your set gets better. Maybe you understand how to dress a little bit better, right? Maybe you start to understand how to cut your hair. I remember I didn't know how to ask for haircuts. It's taken me, I think it took me until about 28 to just ask for how to ask for a haircut, like a proper haircut, know the language to say, how to get a fade and all these types of things, how to ask for my beard. It takes time to understand your look, right? Optimizing your look. Maybe you're wanting to do that. I'd highly recommend doing that, by the way, looking at, and you don't have to break the bank account. Not at all. One of the simple things you can do is just find fitted clothing. Just get simple fitted clothing. I know that this is something that I learned from someone, Greg O'Gallagher. He was talking about this. One of the ways you can do it, and I haven't done this fully yet, but actually this suit is actually fitted. It's fitted to me. The pants are fitted to me as well. But go somewhere in your hometown and look for a high-end clothing brand, and then ask them where their tailor is. Because then you can just get regular clothes tailored, and you'd be surprised what a tailored clothes can do to you. And it can be just a simple black shirt, but that black shirt that's fitted to you goes a long way. So maybe that's one of the things you're wanting to do this year, is optimize your look. Well, just start somewhere. Start somewhere at some point. You got to pick somewhere. So just start. And that's the worst part, is a lot of us don't get started. And by not starting, we don't actualize our greatness. But by starting, you increase your chances. I think it's something like, if you just start to get past your first 20, you increase your chances by like 300%. So by getting started, it is so important for your journey to actualize who you truly are and your greatness. And for me, I will say today was that journey. You're literally witnessing me on my journey. And I use this mantra so many times on my journey. I just say back to myself, oh yeah, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. I actually, by the way, I had a different podcast that I was going to give. And I tried to give the other podcast, and I'm like, you know what? Nope. Nope. My authentic self's not being conveyed. I'm just going to convey what's my authentic self, what's on my heart. And what's on my heart is the main thing that I do when I start anything. Is I understand that I don't have to be great to get started. But I do know if I want to be great, I got to start. And so that journey starts today with you on this podcast, listening in, whether you're driving, you're walking, you're watching this. It's important that you start. And it's the key to your success. And what I love about this journey, what I absolutely love about this journey, is that it's up to you. So I want you to think of this mantra. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. If I don't have to be great to get started, but I got to start to be great. I know I got to get in the game. I got to start. If I want to be in the game, I got to get in the game. You know, you got to start, you got to start, you got to start. So just get started. So let me know in the comments below, what's that thing that you're going to get started this year? What's that thing? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what that thing you are getting started. And also, by the way, again, if you're a guy that's 28 to 40 and you struggle with man to woman communication, you have no idea how to talk to them, your mind goes blank, you're unsure how to talk to women in general, you don't know sub cues, you don't know social cues, you're unable, every time you talk, the conversation just falls flat, or you have no idea how to approach a woman, talk to them in general, or if you're just looking to optimize your life and be the best version of yourself and you're wanting these life foundations, click the link below, check out our community and see if it's for you. We'd love to have you there. We run trainings every week on Wednesdays, and it's very, very powerful. And guys are getting tremendous, spectacular results. Guys are absolutely transforming, and it's quick. Here's the thing. A lot of the stuff that you need to know, it's just some basic nuance information, but just the key elements that you need to know that you're missing will start to add up over time. So click the link below, join our community. We'd be happy to have you there. Make sure you introduce yourself, and looking forward to hearing you inside that community. So just recapping today, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. This is important. Engage the 3-20-10 or 3-20-100 rule. Also, your attitude determines your altitude. So how you address the thing that you're getting started, your attitude behind it is going to determine your results. From there, go as far as you can see. And once you get there, you'll see further. So your benchmarks are 3, 20, 100. And from there, you'll know what the next steps are. You'll have an understanding, you'll have clarity. So let that process happen. Then from there, understanding that when you first start, you're going to suck. So have that self-amusement, have that ability to laugh at yourself. Have that self-amusement is a perfect tool that you're going to need in order to get good at continually at your success. From there, understand that in order to get good, you need to have spaced repetition. Having that spaced repetition, those daily things, not the big swings, the daily things are what's really, really important in order for you to succeed. Then from there, those daily little actions slowly start to add up, and that's what creates the compound effect. And that compound interest starts to activate some powerful results, because it's a bunch of little things that start to add up to create the real results for success. So that's the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care. Have a wonderful day.